Hi everyone. As far as I know, we're streaming. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm just testing things out. This is a very different setup, and I'm streaming completely from OBS. So I just wanted to test all kinds of things out, and thought I would go live right away. I have no idea how this works from OBS. Just bear with me for a minute. Uh, I know there's a way to get the chat to show up here. Yes. There it is. There we go. I can't believe I'm actually streaming right now. I'm used to it being much different the way I set up. Anyway, I might just go do this through YouTube because I have no idea how to do this through OBS. Like I can't see if anyone is connected or watching. I'm sure I can do all of this. I just have to figure out how to do it. But I would really love to know if anyone is there. Either way, live chat. Live chat is on. So I'm testing new setup. It's no new equipment yet. It's just a new setup. And I'm super excited about it. If anyone is watching, please write in the chat so I know that this is working. Robert Ashton, you have a dog right there. Yes, Robert, I do. Where is she? Yeah, she's over there. You know, I'm thinking I'd have to put like a dog bed right there so everyone can see her. Yeah, okay, so it's working. Wow, tabarnak. Okay, this is, let me just tell you what I did because it's kind of funny. I've had a pretty complicated setup. If you could tell, I'm on the other side of my piano now. I'm usually always looking at the camera here. I have a window here, so I got the light and realized that I can actually find a way to put the camera very close and just kind of rearrange things in the living room as well. This baby is still here, so we do have that. I'm very happy with it. So what I'm very happy with this setup, this is Rachmaninoff Sonata for Piano Number 2, a piece I have been working on for almost a year, and it's coming together. It's coming together. I was supposed to play it 2 days ago, actually, in not far from Ottawa, actually, not far from Montreal. A concert which has been postponed due to COVID restrictions. And it was kind of a relief because I wanted much more time to work on it. So it's really a big boat. It's only about 20 minutes long, but yeah. Rock Baby. You got it, Dylan. That is some rock there. Okay, what's really cool about this setup that I'm excited about, apart from having the light come in here, is I'm using a laptop, and before I was using a desktop with like cords and USB extension cords that I would put on a little table that I have in front of me here. It was really complicated, and so this way the setup, I have a permanent setup basically using a laptop. What's really funny is, I started thinking about it. I actually didn't own a laptop anymore, and I thought, well, I have to buy a laptop so I can do this and have a more permanent setup just for streaming and stuff like that. So what do I need in a laptop? I guess, the biggest screen I can find, like a 17-inch, because I'm not really going to be moving it around. It's just going to be in one place. And, when you're buying something new, like a new electronic, you kind of need to figure out what is it that you need. What are your needs? Well, I need strong battery life or this or that, or you need a video card or not, And I really had no idea. So I said, look, my brother gave me this Lenovo ThinkPad. It's a L420 that he found in the garbage, and it has no battery. And I said, I'm going to check it out. I use that laptop kind of for emergencies or something. Mostly it was just put away. So I just kind of dusted it off, and it works well. And I never thought that I would get everything to work on it. But the point was just I thought, look, if anything doesn't work, I'm going to find out with this laptop because it's so old, right? And it turns out I managed to get everything to work. It had a Windows 7, so I put a Windows 10 on there, which was quite the ordeal since there's no battery in this laptop, and I had to update the BIOS from a 2011 to a 2013. So it's this tiny little laptop, and I just love it. I don't know why. I love old technology for some reason. I just love the old stuff. And so I found out I don't really need a new laptop. This is working just fine. This is the first stream I'm doing, so obviously it works. And we're going to be getting rid of this thing, fortunately, because the audio is really, really crappy. I do have the lav mic, the little one, the Shure MX 150, and I bought the converter for the 4-pin XLR to the 3-pin XLR. So that's another thank you to the patrons for that. And yeah, that's about it. I'll be getting this wire out of the way, and that's it. Meanwhile, I'm working on this fourth movement. Third movement, I'm sorry. So working on this. We will be getting the piano tune hopefully this week as well. So from this view, contrary to when we were on the other side, now you get to see all more of the piano. But down here, I'll see if I can I get to about like a C2 here. So. Still getting through this. It's really a difficult piece to memorize. But yes, we love those Rachmaninoff harmonies. Maybe if the camera looked down a bit, that's possible. Problem is when I put the camera down, I'm going to cut off the top of my head. And I don't want to cut off the top of my head. So I don't know. I can see. I might, if I can get it a little more distance, I might gain a few extra keys. Yeah, those are some things that we'll be working on. So not really talking about anything specific today, just kind of saying hi to everyone and checking in with the new setup in a very impromptu style. Honestly, the setup is a kind of a big deal for me. A lot of times I wanted to just like go live or film something, but I didn't feel like taking everything out and like hooking everything up. Honestly, it didn't take too long, but there was always little technical difficulties, and this makes a huge difference for me. So I don't know. I'll find out. Was I just using excuses to be lazy, or is this actually going to make a difference? I think it will. Like hi Yami, yep, the bass notes are cut off. We might fix that. Does it really make a difference? You guys really like want to see the bass notes, if I do something? I guess it would be nice to see that. Those B flats there, We always had the top notes cut off on the other side, so I think you're actually seeing more than the piano than you used to. But I feel like those bass notes are important, so yeah, many times I wanted to do a sort of thing, which I believe we're going to do now. Kind of like I've been asked many times to do some kind of video or series where I would take the audience through learning how to learn a new piece kind of thing. So I would do that, maybe either learning a new piece myself, or would have to be something not too complicated, because really, really complicated pieces can take, half a year to learn. Something that's not too complicated and still sometimes difficult can take a month, So it would have to be something around there, something that would be doable in a month. And I would just film all the practices, and then maybe cut it up and share a bit about like going through the process of learning a new piece. And one of the problems I had with that was just, having to do a setup every time I practiced that piece, which I didn't want to do, because usually when I start learning a new piece, I'll take maybe 2 days to get into it. But after that, I'll go back to the piano many, many times in one day. And if I have to make it this like thing where I have to set up everything, it was just less encouraging to do that. So often, I started doing this one time. I would record something, and then I wanted to go back and do a little extra 5, 10, 15 minutes on this piece. And I felt, well, now I can't do that because I have to film, I have to set everything up, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, that's what it looks like, everyone. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Just wanted to check in and say hi. I'll be doing a live stream very soon. If any of you want to send in things that you would like to see, that you'd like us to talk about, go ahead. I've already asked the patrons on Patreon, so I think we'll do those things first. Someone wanted us to look at invention number 13 and just how to, that was another question about how to tackle a new piece. And a little bit about chords and things like that, how to recognize more than just like notes, but like put the notes together into one chord to learn a piece faster. So we might talk a bit about that. Tim had a question about having goals for a practice in a measurable way, that you have a plan, and after your practice you can say, okay, well, this is done, this is done. I think that's a really interesting thing we can talk about. There's some things, obviously, like you say, well, I have to learn this passage on this practice. That's my goal. You don't necessarily get there in one practice, but there are, goals you can give yourself that are attainable in one practice. Let's say like of course you could say, well, I want to look at this passage, or I want to be able to play this part or these few bars. Just I know I can do it at a slow tempo with no mistakes, but I always rush through it. So I want to go through that and just play through it, let's say like 10 times, not too fast with no mistakes. I think that's, we're kind of getting into that discussion now, and so we might repeat a bit of this. Another one is as far as memorization is concerned, if you have an idea of how quickly or slowly you memorize something, you can say, well, I know I can memorize like 2 more bars of this piece, or 8 more bars or whatever it is, and I'm going to do that now. So we're going to talk about that. What was another thing? Graham wanted us to look at the Ravel Sonatine. I think what we'll do for that, I already asked him if he would play it in our next masterclass. So I think we'll do that, if depending on everyone on our availability. But anyone who wants to play something for the masterclass, just write me on the website. Now I didn't put any of the links here. So write me and what you want to play, and I'll keep everyone posted on the time when we do the next master class. I think for Ravel Sonatine, we'll probably look at it in the master classes, which are still private, although I don't like that. I would like the master classes actually to be like live, everything live streamed. I don't know if some people find that a little daunting. Let me know what you think about it in the chat or in the comments. And after that, we might do a video on some of the things that we looked at. We might do a segment on Ravel Sonatine. I haven't spent very much time on that piece. I might have taught it a little bit, a couple times. So, music theory class, maybe. Yes, we can always talk about music theory. It's such an expansive subject, and I love talking about theory. I just kind of surprisingly, I found that really fun to talk about theory and doing a little harmonic analysis and things like that. Hi, Black X, Tommy Clammer, Rock Sonata 2, love that piece. Yeah, it's really beautiful. So that's it, and this is a program that I'm working on right now, and kind of, I'm in the final stages of it. That concert that was supposed to be on Sunday has been postponed to last Sunday, has been postponed to April 24th. So in the next few months, I'm finishing up that. And that beautiful second movement. That was hard to memorize because this thing repeats 3 times in 3 different ways, and it's kind of tricky. Anyway, all those sort of things that repeat, pieces that repeat something the same way but a little different with different embellishments and sometimes a slightly different harmony, it's always a challenge to memorize stuff like that. Then we start out the concert with the G major Handel Chaconne. So we're going to look at that. The other piece that I've hardly looked at that I wanted to play is the G minor Toccata and Fugue by Johann Sebastian Bach, with that beautiful So I would have to learn that, really, and memorize the whole thing. Along with that, I love to throw in this Bach "Sheep May Safely Graze" transcription by Egan Petrie. It's Egan Petrie. Hi, Nadia. My wife connected to the stream. Yeah, so we got that one. And that puts a few Baroque things. I'm finalizing that piece that I wrote a few years ago, End of a Journey. So yeah, we're going to look at that. And if I can finish it up, do a decent final version of it, and send it to the center here in Canada for composers' rights, copyrights, then I can share it or sell it, I guess, or we'll see, because I've had a number of people ask me for the score to that, and then write some more things this year. That's in the plan. So then we got two pieces by Liszt from Les Années de Pèlerinage en Italie. The Sonetto 104 with this beautiful. I think I posted that maybe in a video from the airport in Rome a little bit. So that's another thing. Oh, and also the 123, I think it is. That's the sixth piece in the second year of Years of Pilgrimage in Italy by Liszt. And these are really maybe some of his finest compositions. And then, of course, the Rachmaninoff Piano Sonata No. 2. Why am I telling you all this? Because we're going to have, obviously, I'm going to talk a lot about these pieces, I think, this year, and do a bunch of lessons on that repertoire, since it will have been something that I will looked at. I'm always reluctant to do videos on new repertoire, because once I play them and perform them, usually about like 10 times, or play them for some other people, I get so much better ideas and better understanding of the pieces. So that's why I've kind of, even though I've known those pieces by Liszt for quite some time now, I learned them last year, I've just had them on the back burner, and there's someone that I'd like to play them for here, André Laplante, a Quebecois pianist who's really extraordinary with Liszt. So hopefully I can get some really good ideas that I can share with you, to his credit, on those pieces. Wife support, that's correct. Yeah, wife support. I was wondering, how do you use pedaling in the Revolutionary Etude, at least the beginning parts? That's a good question. There's not really one way to do it. You can do a version with less pedal, a version with more pedal. I tend to like less. The Revolutionary Etude is kind of boisterous in a way and easily gets too loud. And when everything's loud, it's like nothing is really loud in a good way, because nothing can stand out. So that's my personal preference with that piece. I like to play as much of it that sounds good quiet as possible. And usually the pedal does play a role in that. That's correct. See, here I'm pedal. That's how I would do it. But if you left the pedal on the whole way, pedal, and then pedal there on the C. So this is one pedal. It starts to get almost too much, but maybe that's okay, because it's very fast and it just gets like a little blurry and then clear, pedal here. Pedal. So that's possible, but I think I like the other way better. Pedal, 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 pedal. You know, so there's a lot of things you can do with that. You know, just do it. Sounds good. Same thing in here. This is pedaling only on the bass note. So here, sorry, do that again. Here, 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 here. Yeah, that battery. So, however, you know, sometimes I like to experiment. Pedaling at the top of the line in the left hand. So, or even a half pedal. Not this one though, not that E flat, but this one. Doesn't that sound good? You know, you pedal up there instead of. So same thing when you have, I don't have the score in front of me. This part, I would pedal again 4 times per bar. Where to do it? On the second finger in the left hand. Here, here. Right? So you don't have the problem of that minor second in low keys blurring things up. So you guys putting me on the spot here. So that I like that. Sounds very good. Lots of changing the pedal. Lots of pedaling, which kind of means less pedal in a way. So there's a part at the end when you have that Neapolitan come as well. Before that, anyway, there's another passage again. When the left hand reaches the top of its line, I like to pedal that. I really love the way it changes the texture, very much in the same way as that kind of breadth and spaciousness that the pedal gives when you change it at the top of the line in the left hand, when it gets to that E flat. So, yeah, basically different ways of doing it, but I like lots of pedal. I hope that helps. How can you tell when a piece is beyond practicing, at least ready for performance? I hope you don't mind the question. Of course not, guys. When we're live, fire away the questions. I love it, you know. If a piece is beyond practicing, so it's like... You mean when you're finished with practicing it and it's ready to be performed? It's a kind of funny question because you're obviously never really done practicing it. In a way, performing it is just like the next step in learning the piece, you know? And then after you perform it 3, 4, 5 times, especially if you record it and listen to your performance, you get even more ideas. But how do you know when it's like, okay, I can perform it for someone? It's up to you, you know. Obviously, you need to be able to get through it from beginning to end. It has to hold together, you know. You have to be able to play it without stopping. If it's not perfect, then it's up to you. Is that going to be a reason to not play the piece because you have a couple of mistakes? I wouldn't make a big deal of it, you know. Depends on what you're playing and what level and you know, and where you're playing it. So yeah, the best thing to do is to record yourself, because often when you're by yourself, you can play through the piece no problem, and then you play it for someone and you realize you're not quite there yet. So that's what I like to do. I like to play it for someone. I play it for my wife, play it for a friend, or another pianist, or you know, I'll play it for someone who could actually teach me a few things, who's played it before. And that's the best, because then you're a little more on nerves. If you play it for someone who really knows the piece and plays it better than you, that'll make you a little nervous. And then if you're really ready to deal with the stress of playing it in public or in front of people or whatever. So basically, you have to find that threshold. Where is it like acceptable? I could play it at this level. I can get through it without any blanking out with memory problems or jumping around, and it holds together from beginning to end. Okay, some passages are really tough and I haven't mastered them. That's fine. You don't have to master everything before performing it. I don't think so. I think that when you perform it, or perform is a funny word as well, or just like share it or play it for people, or that's part of learning it. So I hope that answers the question. I prefer less pedal too. And this is back to the Chopin Revolutionary Etude. But not being fast enough makes non-pedal parts sound stiff. Yeah, that's a good point. It's true. That's no pedal. With pedal. Okay, you brought up a good point. You're absolutely right about that. Depending on the speed that you play it, you'll have different pedal. So the slower you play it, a little extra pedal sounds good. As we get faster. Sorry, guys, I would have to spend a few minutes practicing that. How would I practice it? I think we've done enough videos on this. I like to do this, and I have a problem with my thumb not going in the right place. I might even accentuate the thumb just once. That was close. That's not a musical thing. It's just to make sure I'm on the right note. There was one mistake with the 2 here. Yes, same one. It helps when you look at patterns as well, like, okay, well, the 2 is on B's and F naturals. And then I like, we've done all these in the other videos, so you can look at that if you're playing that piece. But definitely, speed changes the pedal, the pedaling. What sounds good slow might not, or what sounds good fast, pedaling-wise, might not be the same slow. So all those things go together. How often should you learn a new piece? So that's an interesting question. It depends also how much you can handle. I think, as a general basis, if you learn 2 programs a year, that's pretty good. Even 1 program a year, I think that's a good objective. So what's a program? I would say about 4 or more pieces that are at your level or at the level that you're doing. So let's say, you're doing, let's say, a level 5. You might play a Bach invention and maybe a sonatina, a Haydn sonatina, or a Clementi sonatina, or Kuhlau, although I think he's much less interesting. Maybe even a Mozart sonatina. It's a little more advanced. Not a sonatina, sonata. One of the easier ones. And then maybe 2 other pieces, like 2 pieces from it. That's a classical program that's making you do the Baroque, classical, and maybe like 2 pieces from Romantic or just general repertoire. But I think it's very good. You don't have to do that. You can just learn popular pieces. But I would give, let's say we forget the classical thing and outline, over a year you're going to tackle, let's say, 4 pieces. But this is really depending on your level. If you're advanced and you learn fast, I have a student who's um, I have a student who studies with me and also another teacher as well, and we do 2 different programs. And he's fast. He learns like lightning. I'd say he learns about 12 pieces a year. So, if you have really good sight reading, you can definitely do more. If you're very advanced and aiming for a professional level, then, you might have a 1 hour program that you do in 1 year is not even a lot, right? Well, that's kind of what you do when you're doing, let's say, a doctorate here. But the reality in life, you end up doing, if you're a professional pianist, you might end up doing 4, 5, 6 programs a year, even, especially with chamber music that you don't have to memorize. I find memorizing complicated, difficult works takes a long time. So, for me, I learned these Liszt pieces. Um, Took a couple of months. They're not that difficult for my level, let's say. So after a couple months, I was getting ready to perform them, and of course, then I perform them and keep working on them and refining them. This Rachmaninoff sonata just kind of took me forever. I find it very challenging to put together. Uh, and that's kind of done. So I'm really excited because now I know the whole thing by heart. It's just refining it, putting it together, making it as cohesive as possible. And that took me a long time. I wasn't always practicing this, really not. It was really sporadic on and off. But overall, I'm not done with it. I'm never going to be done with it, but I'm not ready to perform it, to go back to the other question. I'm not at that point where, by heart, I could perform the whole thing with the music in front of me, no problem. But by heart, getting there, I'd be ready in a week right now. So, but that one I've been at for almost a year. So you see, there's some I would look at short-term projects. So pieces that you can learn in, let's say, a week, and then pieces that you can learn in a month, maybe, or 2 or 3, and then pieces that are really challenging and long, and they're going to take you 6 months, let's say 6 to 10 months. A year is really long. You have to be committed to stick to something for a year to learn it, but that's good. So, some people, I had a student ask me those questions before and say, well, then is it a fable, about these pianists who learn a piece in like 2 weeks? It depends on the piece. It's not, there are some pianists who will do that, and, I'll do that with maybe a Beethoven sonata. I'm not going to play it very well after a week or 2, but I think I can play it good. It's just not like at a really competitive level with a deep understanding of the piece, because you have to live with the music as well. Kind of like live your life while you know this music, and sit with it for a while, and it has to marinate is another way of looking at it. So think of it that way. Pieces that are maybe like 2 levels easier than your level that you should be able to learn in a week, maybe 2, maybe a month if they're more complicated. I think that's great because it makes you read new music all the time and increase your sight reading level. Then you have kind of like normal pieces that you take maybe 3 months to learn, let's say 3 to 5 months to learn, something like that. And then pieces that, if you're really motivated and committed, because you have to stick with it and have a good method of going about breaking down this big piece that's going to take you maybe 6 to 12 months to learn, and break it down into little steps that are manageable for you. So I would look at it kind of like that. How often should you learn a new piece? There you go. So taking into account that, if you tackle the easy pieces as well, that are like 2 levels easier for you for your sight reading, well, you're learning a new easy piece every month. That's very good for your sight reading. And then if you're just kind of not counting those because they're too easy for you, then I suppose you're throwing in a new piece every 4 months or so. You know, there's no real clear-cut answer to that question. If you want to perform good, you have to play perfect. If you want to perform perfect, you have to get better than perfect, in my opinion. If you want to perform good, you have to play perfect. I I guess it depends what you mean by perfect, and it's not a very ideal word for an artist because you're always refining things. Then what is perfect? Perfect to me means that there's nothing left to improve, and there's always something left to improve in a piece. There's no end to it. As you get older, you get more mature. You become a better performer, a better mediator between the music, the composer, and the audience. There's no end to how you refine the music. And when it comes to even just something as technically difficult, complicated passages, you might be refining that on different levels as well over years. So, and what makes a good performance? I think a good performance is a performance where you reach people, you know, and you touch them in some way. Probably the most significant way of touching someone is when you play something that, you know, gives them the space to feel things that they need to feel that they wouldn't otherwise happen. And maybe in the most superficial way, it's when you play really difficult things and that are impressive to people, but that's more like going to the circus. So people are moved in a way to see someone do something very difficult. You know, I find that that's can be fun as well. You know, even someone like Liszt, who wrote these most beautiful things, seems to be someone who really appreciated the, you know, circus side of the music, which is not a very nice way of putting it, but it's maybe the one of the best words you can use to describe these pieces that were just flashy and kind of show off, and that was also original at the time. So there was something to it. I will go. So yeah, I have a, you know, I think that kind of addresses that, you know, performing good. What's a good performance? Oh yeah, okay. So a good performance is one where you reach people and touch them and hopefully do, you know, justice to the music as well, because you don't want to play something that you really don't know and don't understand, and then people are usually don't know any better, and they'll hear that music and just say, well, that doesn't sound very interesting. I think I don't like J.S. Bach, you know. So if you have a moderately decent understanding of the music and you can convey something, I think that's a good performance, and you don't have to play perfectly to do that. So I'll go study now. Thanks for peddling advice. Much appreciated. Cool. Good luck with it. Hi, Elijah Shumate. Do you prefer Debussy or Ravel? Hi from Oregon. Hi, Elijah in Oregon. Debussy or Ravel? Uh, I love both. I really do. I think I might have more fun playing Ravel than Debussy. There's something really special about Ravel to me personally, but Debussy is really up there. I would just say flat out Ravel. I love what have I played by Ravel? Gaspard de la Nuit. The violin sonata is one of my favorite pieces ever. This is such a beautiful piece. It's literally on the first movement is one of my top favorite pieces of all time. Gaspard de la Nuit is also. I had a lot of fun playing this piece as well. Ravel is kind of, you know, it's difficult to learn the notes and everything, and then once you know it, it's kind of easy. Haven't played that one in a while. And Scarbeau, that's really a lot of fun to play. These are more challenging pieces. I never learnt the sonatine, but I would like to play it. And Debussy, well, it's just different. You know, they have so much in common. Those two composers writing both neoclassical and impressionist music, but they're distinctly different. So it's hard to pick favorites between composers. But if I had to, I think I'd pick Ravel. How do you handle memorization? Memorization is a pain in the butt. Let's just put it plainly. It's a lot quicker to learn something that you don't have to memorize, usually the case with chamber music, but it's a hell of a lot more satisfying to play something that you've memorized and you know well. And on top of that, more and more I find that until I memorize something, I just kind of waste a lot of time with it, because you play much better when you actually look at your hands. It's not even about looking at your hands, because once you know it by heart, I know it's a C sharp and D. So it's kind of like I'm seeing the piano even though I'm not looking at it. And I did that by memorizing it. So I'm not sure how the connection gets made. Ask some psychologist or someone who's really smart at this, but it could be that, you know, you see it on paper. So I see both. You know, I see the score, what it looks like, but I also see what it looks like here without looking at it. And I think that happens by virtue of memorizing it, because the first thing that you do is translate what's in the score to what it looks like here. Black keys and white keys in different shapes. Hopefully you're able to identify some of the chords: D flat major, C major, E flat minor, back to D flat major. It's not necessary to know all the chords. But if I, for example, if I have a memory slip all the time, what is that chord? Then I'll identify it. Oh, it's B flat minor. And that really helps with the memorization. The other question of memorization is, at what point do you say, okay, I'm going to memorize it? I'm going to go from learning, you know, from playing what I see here, and let's suck it up. Let's learn it by heart. I think maybe it's one of my flaws that I wait too late to memorize something, because once I memorize it, it's like, all right, that's it. It's a lot easier to nail technically difficult things when you know them by heart than when you're looking in the score. There's a good example at the end of this sonata. This part here is very... And if you don't know it by heart, you know, I can't tell you how much time I wasted just because I was too maybe preoccupied with other things than to just memorize that part. So eventually it got to a point where I realized that let's just work on the memorization, where I went through it pretty much systematically. And when I get to that part, it's going to be fine, because... Now I can practice it. You know, I know it by heart. I don't execute it perfectly. So often when you have things that are jumping around a lot, maybe with octaves, you know, it's really, really hard to be accurate if you're looking at the score. Another example is the, how does it go? Darn it. Haven't played it in too long. The Liszt Sonata. That's it. B flat major. Okay. When octave passages like that, it's just, if you're working on accuracy, it's really hard to get there when you have your nose in the score and you're not quite sure what it is. So something happens when you memorize the translation of what it looks like visually in the score to really seeing where it is on the piano, identifying the chords that are problematic in the memory. So when you have some memory problem and you're like, well, that's just an ordinary chord, there isn't even a non-chord tone in there. Okay, it's B flat minor, then that really helps. So maybe a good thing is just to start memorizing as you learn the piece. You're looking at memory right away. So, yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for bringing that up. Memorization. I hope that answers part of it. Um, Hi, Graham. It took me 8 months to learn the Fourier Nocturne number 6. Is that the D flat made or C sharp one? The one everyone really loves. 8 months. It's never taken me so long to learn one piece. Many hidden difficulties. Good for you. That's okay. I think it's totally fine to learn and tackle a difficult piece that you love. It's going to take 8 months to learn. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is you need to be committed enough to stick with it, because usually I find after 4 months, 5 months maybe is about the point where people just give up and then you never finish what you started, which is sometimes a good idea if the piece was really too difficult. But like I said, I've been at this baby for, it's going to be, by the time I perform it in April, it will have been over a year. And that's fine, you know. I took over a year to learn Rock 3 as well. So things that are really challenging for you, it's normal to take like 8 months to learn them. You just have to have the commitment and stamina to stick to it. How necessary do you think practicing technique like scales, hand, and Czerny faithfully is? How would you balance it with repertoire? I believe it's important. Maybe especially at certain levels, because once you start to play difficult pieces like Chopin etudes, you don't necessarily need to do the Hanon, you know, or the Czerny. Although there's some Czerny etudes that are really hard, and you know, you get something out of learning etudes. So I think it's a good idea to always have some kind of etude, even, you know, at relatively easy levels. You just start picking simple etudes. Czerny is tons of them. Hanon, according to Rachmaninoff, Hanon was, he thought that was crucial for pianists to learn to, you know, develop their virtuosity. Hanon was great, he said. So, and I like to use Hanon not only as a technical exercise. So Hanon are these exercises that go, and then they go down, and then you have, you know, that's like the first one, and then you have, and so on and so forth. These kind of things. So I like to look at the technique in there. We might, if you guys want, we could do a whole series on Hanon and looking at the technique, you know, like for example, number 1 is just using the wheel. You know, I have this iPad plugged in. I honestly didn't think I was going to do this kind of stream today, and I'm really happy about this. So thank you everyone for contributing with your questions. Let's see that work. There we go. There's the first Hanon exercise. And yeah, this one, you know, you're just using the wheel. Anyway, I'm not going to go super into the Hanon right now, but we could do some series on it, you know. Some of them have more wheel, some of them have no rotation, some of them have only rotation, usually a combination of the two, and it's just knowing where to put it. So it can be good for practicing the technique, but also for like kind of more, you know, getting the notes down, technical stuff as well. So scales are really important, at least in that you're familiar with the keys. You know, if you can't, I think it's a way of that you can familiarize yourself with the different keys is by playing the scales. So for example, you know, if you don't know which is the major key that has 4 sharps, E major. If you're not able to find the answer right away, maybe it's good to go through the scales because they'll make you go through the keys. As far as just, being able to play the scales, well, good, like gradually, year by year. I think scale practice, metronome is essential. Really, really, really essential. So you have to be able to, switch from eighth notes to triplet eighth notes to 16th notes and play the scales 4 octaves, at reasonable speeds, and then getting faster and faster year by year. Until eventually, I don't know, that's a nice speed. And of course, you're gonna, if you get to, the really high levels, you'll encounter scales that you have to play much faster like that, like at the end of the Chopin Fourth Scherzo, something like that. So you have those scales, So yeah, I think it's all important, and once you can tackle some more difficult Czerny etudes, go for it. And Chopin and Liszt as well, and they're not the only ones. There's another guy, I can't remember his name. It's a German who wrote all these etudes. Again, Rachmaninoff talked about this composer, that his etudes were up there, as far as, in his estimation, up there with Chopin's etudes, but no one still really knows him today. So thanks for the advice. Very insightful. Thank you, Tommy. Glad it helps. New patron here, Jose R. Jose R., nice to see you on here. Would like to hear your take on thumb action in scales and arpeggios. Roll over the thumb under, just shift to new hand position. Yeah, okay, all right, let's talk about scales. Good. So, I think this thumb here, okay, we take an E major scale here. It needs to be in place before, but it's not just like that. Don't shift to a new position like that, right? You want to bring the thumb on the A, we're doing an E major scale here, before it's time for it to play. Likewise, bring the second finger on the B immediately after. Now, you don't need to only use like this muscle here to bring the thumb here. You're also bringing the arm a little bit to the right like this. So see? So it's done as smoothly as possible, not shifting positions like that. I would describe it almost as a feeling going up in the right hand and down in the left hand. It feels like you're dragging your hand, kind of, and it's doing like this, sort of, Because going up, scale going up, the wrist is a little lower, right? It's a little more difficult to transfer the weight this way. And then going down, the wrist can be a little higher. Okay, let's look at going down. Going down in the right hand or going up in the left hand is the same thing. The thumb becomes like a conveyor belt. See? These conveyor belts, like a treadmill. So I hope that helps a little with the scales. Arpeggios. As for arpeggios, roll over the thumb. Okay, that's another one. Arpeggios depends on the speed that you do them at, because when you're really slow, it can be harder to do an arpeggio slow with no pedal and have this legato. When you're going really fast, you don't have to hold this to do this. It doesn't matter anymore. Depends how you use the pedal as well. But it's not always. Here's the biggest issue that people have with arpeggios. They'll do this. The elbow should always stay in, not doing like this. Can you imagine? No, right? Going up or down in the right hand. Going this way. Now the thumb has become like a conveyor belt again. All right? Going there. So I hope that helps with the scales and arpeggios. You guys, when you come to my masterclass, we'll talk about all this stuff, you know? So if you want to sign up for the masterclass, you just shoot me an email on the masterclass form. I'll add a link in the description. It's not there now. And that's it. You just, you know, you don't have to play. But we look at all that stuff as well. Whitesides versus Czerny's approach. Which do you like better? I don't know Whitesides, so I can't say. I never heard of him before. Whitesides. Interesting. I'll have to look at that, Diego. Thank you. Okay, yeah, the D flat nocturne, Graham. Yeah, that's a challenging piece. You know, I think everyone wants to play that Fauré Nocturne number 6. Anyone doesn't know it, go listen to it. You'll fall in love with it. It looks kind of, you know, not so hard. It's a very difficult piece. All of the Fauré Nocturnes. Andre says, thanks a lot. Very inspiring. Struggle a lot with memorization. Jose, thank you for becoming a patron. Anyone, if you want to support the channel, head over to the Patreon page. The live stream now is going to be accessible for all the patrons, and then I'll cut it up and make segments and upload it to YouTube. That's how this works. The patrons, we also, you know, talk privately, you know, with the patrons. So it's kind of like a communication line with me if you want to ask questions or even send me a recording of what you're playing and have a little critique of it. I do that with the patrons. And yeah, I think we're going to wrap this one up. I'm already losing my voice. I didn't bring a glass of water. Didn't expect to do this for so long. Okay, so I didn't actually hit record on this, so I'll see. I might record it back from YouTube and then cut it up. Al K. Hannon for the Virtuoso Pianist. Yeah, I remember that book. I remember that book, playing Hannon. It's not bad. So, you know, I kind of do Hannon, you know, when you're like in the level 4, 5, 6, 7, and then kind of drop it after because you're doing other stuff. So Hannon is great, you know. And when I read that thing by Rachmaninoff that he thought Hannon was the shit, then I thought it gave me a little extra, put a little extra value on those Hannon exercises for playing virtuosically. So that's it. Bye, everybody. Take care. See you in the next stream. Come to my masterclass. When you come to my masterclass, you're going to play me all this stuff you're working on, or not because you're too shy and you'll just watch, and that's okay. Don't forget to like the video, like the stream if you're watching. That's always helpful for me. Or subscribe if you haven't. And see you in the next stream. Peace. Adios. Over and out.